Hello everyone, welcome back to another What I've Been Playing, and as always I'd love to hear what you're up to, especially if it's something weird or obscure, because maybe it'll give us ideas for games to play in the future. And lately I've been playing two games, PS4 and the Switch. The one I beat recently, just a few weeks ago, I got it, pre-ordered it immediately as soon as it went up, very excited. Like a Dragon Ishin, so the newest in the what in the West was called the Yakuza franchise, and now it's all under the Like a Dragon umbrella, which is what the original Japanese name means anyway, but this is a remake of a game that I've always wanted to play. It was Japan exclusive, and after playing it, I really hope we get another one in this vein. It is exciting, and it's a perfect game for people who like the Yakuza franchise, like myself, who are huge fans and really want to get into it, because it still has a lot of that feel, even though there are some differences because of the setting, but it's also a really easy game to get into if you don't know a thing about the franchise. If you've never played a game, it is very standalone, and even though it has a lot of the core actors who play characters throughout the Yakuza franchise, a lot of the core voice work and everything that is involved, those people are there, the standards that you're used to, but they're playing entirely different people, so you don't have to know anything about them. It's just the same actors, and it takes place in the 1800s in Japan, in a very fascinating part of Japanese history that really works well with what they're going for in this game, because there is this infusion, kind of forced infusion of a lot of Western culture coming into Japan. It's a period of transition where you have a lot of the much more traditional, meeting a lot of the more modern, and a lot of the very culturally Japanese meeting a lot of the foreign cultural concepts and ideas and things that are coming in, and it caused a lot of turmoil, a lot of strife, and is one of a few really big cultural upheavals in Japan. So it's a fascinating time to visit, and they incorporate that in the story, of course, and done really, really well, and in the setting and in the side missions, and it also goes as far enough to incorporate that into the play style, the basic play style of the game. It feels very much like a Yakuza game from the era that this came from. It's has four different styles. So that you have a brawler style, which feels very much like your just normal Kiryu, really feels a lot like that. And then you have a style which involves a sword, which is something that's, again, a little more period specific and how it kind of differs a little, but it still controls and feels very much like a Yakuza game. It feels very similar to a lot of times when you would be having a weapon in some of the other games. A very similar vibe to that. Then they put in the one with just the gun, and then a fusion style, which really is the theme of the game in the gameplay style, where you have one-handed with a sword and the gun. And it's interesting to play them all, and it was a lot of fun. There's some that I was uncertain about, because I was much more in the very first couple hours into having just the sword or the brawler. I wasn't as much into the gunplay, but as it went along, it really wants you to try out all four of them, and level all of them up, and really experience all of them in different situations. Will call for a different one. You can kind of mold it to your gameplay style. So it was a lot of fun. I ended up almost maxing out all four just from the enjoyment of using them and the variety. And overall, it feels very much like a Yakuza. It's a very similar vibe to exploring the towns that you're in, but of course obviously a very different setting, which is kind of an interesting, refreshing take for someone who played a lot of the games recently, and so very familiar feel, kind of comforting feel for fans and someone like me who's played a bunch of them, but also something a little refreshing and new, a new vibe because of the setting, and just fantastic all around. It's a great game. A lot of the mini games are there. It has the over the top melodrama within the story, but then the crazy silly humor within a lot of the side missions. So it has that same feeling throughout the entire thing. There's karaoke, all of that. And the one thing that I wasn't quite in the previews was like, that looks interesting, I'm not sure how much I'll be into it, that I was completely 100% just because I loved it, was the farming aspect. They actually have a town with Haruka. There are a lot of returning characters playing different versions, different people. You have a town a house out of town that you can farm, and the farming is really fun, really addictive, and is incorporated into many other things. Not only can you get items, you can send orders out to make a lot of money. It's actually probably the best way to make money in the game. Lots of different side quests through that, and there's also, while you're there, a whole host of cooking mini games. Every recipe has a slightly different mini game to do to cook each recipe, and you can sell those. You can have them in your inventory, kind of make your own healing items that way. So it was really involved, and the little side story with it was fantastic. So everything about it I enjoyed. As far as the entire franchise, for me, it's kind of somewhere in the middle, which is saying a lot for a series that I absolutely love. So I thought it was fantastic. It's definitely a game you could pick up if you like the Yakuza series. Go get it right away. If you've never played one before, totally accessible, and it will give you a good taste of the style of storytelling and gameplay that you'll find in the franchise. So overall, I mean, it's just a brilliant game, and I hope we get more spin-offs in this vein in the future, because I would check them all out. Now, next, the game that I'm currently playing, I'm about 15 hours in so far, Tales of Symphonia Remastered, and this one is a little bit of a mixed bag. Whether or not you want to pick this up kind of depends on who you are, because it was originally a GameCube exclusive, then in Japan only it was ported to the PlayStation 2, and that was definitely a lesser version, 30 frames per second versus 60, load times a little bit longer, the colors even in this version, feel a little less vibrant, a little more muddied, but that PlayStation 2 version is what they used then to make the remaster for PlayStation 3, and then this version here. And it's interesting because, I have the GameCube version, that's what I originally played it on, and the GameCube version is superior to this, both in terms of visuals, as far as the performance with gameplay. It's the better version, which is just, it feels so weird saying that guess how many years is it? Just about 20 years. Old GameCube copy outperforms the brand new Switch version, and PS4 and the Switch version I think has a few more issues than some of the others, but overall all of them, the GameCube version is the best one. That's kind of a sad thing, but still I really hope this does well, because I would love to see more Tales games get ported over, things like Abyss, which is my favorite, I'd love to see, or remasters or remakes of games like Legendia, or even just collections, ones we never got here. I'd love to get the Destiny 1 and 2 pack, both those games from the PlayStation 2 era, or even the original Tales of Destiny, but whatever. So I hope this does well, but again, performance-wise, this is an inferior version to the GameCube one. It's still, it's a very fun game, I really like it. It's one of the better Tales games, kind of near the top for me, but it's definitely not my favorite. There's a few that I definitely like more. There's a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people, though. It's still a fun RPG, really good game. None of the performance issues or anything bothered me at all. It was just noticeable because I had played the GameCube version. So this is something where if you've never played the game before at all, go and grab this. It's a really good classic RPG. It's a lot of fun. It's great. If you have played it before, and I'd say if you have the GameCube version and a way to play the GameCube version easily, have a GameCube or a white Wii model, the only appeal for this would probably be if you just want another version on a modern console for accessibility, or the Switch version in particular if you like the portability factor as a big plus, then it's still worth checking out. But otherwise, if you really don't care about having it on a newer console, you don't care about having a portable version with a Switch, and you have it already on an older platform, even the PlayStation 3 version, I really couldn't recommend it, because it's not an upgrade in any way. It's actually a little bit of a downgrade. So it's kind of an interesting experience for me. Again, really enjoy it, but the big hope for this is future Tales games coming to older Tales games coming to systems like the PlayStation and the Switch. So that's the big hope with this. It's a good game. Depending on who you are, it's definitely a must-buy, just depending on your scenario and how much interest you have in it. This is I don't just pick it up and buy it. This is fantastic. This is one of the best games that I've played in recent memory, and we'll see as the year goes on. It's still pretty early in the year, but this could be close. This definitely will be a contender for my Game of the Year as we move through 2023.